Within a couple of weeks after arriving in Ujungan, I had a meeting with Dr. and Mrs. Irao. The meeting was set up by a brother by the name of Domingo Familara, who is the supervisor for the Foursquare churches in that region. And he and I met with Dr. and Mrs. Irao to discuss the property that Sister Irene, wanted to give to the school for its own building. Now, Dr. Irao was not a believer. She was a very spiritual woman, kind of a prophetess there in the church, and a wonderful lady. And she said, "Okay, I want to give this property," and it was actually an inheritance that she received from her parents. Now, this plot of land was flat, which was good, but it had a lot of coconut trees on it and banana trees, especially coconut. And you really have to be tread carefully when you begin to want to take those trees down. In any event, it was a property that meant a lot to her from her inheritance, and that's what she wanted to give. So we sat down to talk, and suddenly Dr. Rouse just turns to her and puts his hand on her shoulder, and he looks at us and says, um, "I'm not going to let her give you this property." And he said, "Honey, you cannot give this property. It's your family property, and I will not allow you to give it to them. You cannot do that." So momentarily, Domingo Familar and I were just going, kind of a bit crestfallen there, but okay. But then he quickly said, "What I'm suggesting is we give you another property that is a conjugal piece of property, one that you and I bought together. And it was in an area called Poktoy, which was out of the city by 2 or 3 miles." And he said, "I do want us to get the property, but let's give this property and not the one from your family." She seemed very happy with that, and so we said, "Okay, fine." So they gave us the property, and we went out to look at it. It was on the side, down at the base, just off the road, and not too many feet from the road began up a hill, very steep hill, and so we knew that we'd have to do a lot of excavating, but it just seemed like that was the property the Lord really had for us. In fact, it was. And so we, because of the fact there was a building slowdown at that time, we were able to get the top contractor, his name was Bonifacio, or his nickname Bonin, and his crew. And they came in, and he agreed to work for half what he normally would work for. And then, along with some volunteers we had from the area, we began to dig out on the side of the mountain and construct the building. Now, the building was one that I designed, and it had on the ground floor, it would have had 3 classrooms or 2 classrooms and an office and a library. The library could be a third classroom. And then upstairs was, on one wing was the girls' dormitory, and on the other wing was the boys' dormitory. And we could house about 40 students or so. So that's I designed that building, and then there was a young lady who was an architect in the city, and she came and drew up the plans according to what little sketch that I'd given her, and we started to build. Now, I can't remember the exact amount, but I think it was like $12,000 that a church in Decatur, Illinois, had given for the Bible College, and though not enough to complete it, it would certainly be enough to start it. And with the property and the builders in place, we began to get materials and build this 2-story structure for the Bible College, classrooms, library, office, and dormitories. So we began, and it was a project to say the least, and it really presented for me a real walk of faith. There was more than once where we had run out of money, and I can remember standing in the ground level there, just kind of crying out to the Lord, saying, "Now what do we do? Are you going to help us here?" And He did. It was amazing, and I'll talk more about that. But in any event, it was clear that it was a provision from the Lord that had been given to us by Dr. and Mrs. Arau, and it was indeed the time to build.